it will be virtual. Whoops, okay, got it. It will be on, it will be virtual.
And I guess maybe the only thing I would ask, and I hope the other community boards do, that if there's a Zoom address, that it be sent to the community board, and I know there are people who want to have information from our community board when it comes to like environmental issues or stuff. So to the extent that there's a Zoom link or whatever link that they create, it would be good if they, DP, if you give them that they would do that. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, we've discussed that. Oh, yeah, no, they are putting out the notice. We will take that notice and we will distribute it widely as well.
Excellent, thank you.
That's done.
That was my question. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, the open meetings law, my letter was sent Monday to the board. It made clear that we are in compliance with the open meetings law. To update you, after discussions at LRE last Tuesday regarding the procedures guide, Marty and I both submitted further questions to the borough president's office. I had conversations with him on the phone, but we have not gotten responses to our questions yet, but we will keep you informed when we get a response. An update on 6661 Broadway, the proposed homeless shelter. It is still not registered, that project, with the controller. Last week, the board learned that the shelter's provider, AAPCI, will be replaced. And another provider will be substituted. The fact that AAPCI is gone is very good. Because the community, the elected officials, this board has repeatedly objected to their past corruption and what we felt was inadequate experience. The bad news is that DHS plans to keep the identical plan, 130 men in this congregate setting. And again, it seems we are being cut out of this process. A big question for us and the elected officials is, can the Department of Homeless Services, or DSS, simply substitute a new provider without going through the contract process? I mean, because the contract is between DHS and AAPCI, and that was based after an RFP process. We believe they have to go back to the beginning. And that's what we're questioning, and the elected officials are united and drafting a letter to sign, asking these questions, and also asking to review the model. The community has always been willing to do its share, but the congregate model, there are alternatives. So we are exploring that. Let's see. Update on school construction authority.
Laura, I apologize. May I ask a quick question on this?
Okay.
Yeah, so you learned that AAPCI was dismissed, sort of say, but how to say, maybe I'm repeating what you just said, but how will the next provider be selected? I mean, is this another provider that was sort of in line, like AAPCI was the first choice, but there were others with the exact same proposal? I'm very surprised about you know, how
You're
another
correct,
one was
you're
already
correct to
found.
be
Like,
surprised. Our understanding, Camelia, was that AAPCI responded to a request for proposal. It was a rolling situation. There was no other, according to what Drinkwater said, there was no other nonprofits that applied.
Yeah.
And the contract was uniquely based on AAPCI's. and the Department of Homeless Services between them. So, yes,
But
they just simply want to substitute one for the other.
yeah, I understand. So, and you learned this directly from the DSS?
Yes,
How did you learn this? And they didn't tell you who would be?
no, it appeared to me,
Obviously, yeah.
I have an email, a very brief email. Let's see if I could find it, I'll share it. Okay. To answer your question, we had said to DHS Social Services that it's been almost a year. It's been a year since they updated the community with their plans, and that we wanted an informational meeting. And we projected a date to them. And we were hounding them. Are you coming? Who's coming? Is AAPCI coming? So we kept hounding them. We didn't, we're not having a meeting because of what's happened, what we know right now. And we had never noticed it, but we were working on a future date, a specific date. We had only sent it to the electeds wanting to confirm their attendance. So I got this email last Thursday. Good morning. AAPCI is no longer the provider for 6661 Broadway. Once DHS confirms a new provider, we will send an update with additional details. At this juncture, all other aspects regarding population, capacity, and timeline maintain the same, and there are not further updates. Best regards. That's it.
Got it.
That's
Okay,
so we,
got it.
you know, I have a feeling if we hadn't been nudging them, you know, when you come, you need to come and throwing out, you know, they wouldn't have told us. We would just have found out at some juncture, there's a new provider.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. No, they're all good questions. I'm just rushing through everything. I appreciate the questions. David and then Bob and Rosemary.
Yes, thank you. I think we talked about this before. I think we should desist in using the word corruption. Their actions are not professional. A corruption suggests bribery or something to that effect, and I don't think that's the case, and that could be actionable. So
No problem. Thank you. No
okay.
problem. Yep. Bob.
Yeah, so what is not clear to me at this point is the involvement of Court Square Realty. There were, as I understand it, eviction notices that were sent to all of the stores on the location where the project was going to be built. And if I remember correctly, these eviction notices required that the leases would be terminated on December 31st. So given the fact that there is no longer an operator for this homeless shelter, I'm wondering if we know anything about the status of the eviction notices and where Court Square Realty stands at this point.
Bob, very good question. I spoke with one of the store owners just last week to ask if they have gotten anything further. I want you to know, I have to thank Nick, the Economic Development Committee. We did provide each store with free access to attorneys from the city. And they did contact them at the beginning, and they did review leases, etc. But to answer the question, no, they have not received anything further. Now, just to review, this is a private owner who sold 6661 to another private owner in the form of LLCs, private transactions. And there are several. There's 6661 Enterprise LLC, there's Court Square Realty LLC, who was associated with AAPCI. And we were told at the first meeting that ultimately AAPCI was going to own this building. This is all a big mystery, which is why we want them back. And we not only were inviting DHS and AAPCI, but every number or email or anything we were able to glean on several of the LLCs, and there were several, we were inviting them to. Not very optimistic that they would come, but we were trying to get everybody to the table. So I'm sorry, Bob, did I answer the question?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, my real concern is with the
Yeah.
eviction notices that terminate the leases on December 31st, which
They're
is
not
only
doing
weeks
anything.
away.
yet. They're not doing anything. They're just waiting. They have not gotten a demolition notice. The board has not received a demolition notice. They're not moving yet. I mean, they may be forced to, but she said they're just going about their business.
Okay, thanks.
Rosemary.
Okay, thank you. Let me lower my hand first. This is big news. This is an important piece of news that we were not aware of. So thank you for letting us know what's going on. That the provider is out of the picture is what you're saying. They're out of the picture. And we don't know who will be coming in. The provider is, we don't know who the provider will be.
Correct.
I personally believe, not as a board, we didn't vote on this, but I personally believe the provider is a very important piece of the community looking at what is being proposed. So having said that, we don't know the provider, but they said to you in that email, the program is the same, the numbers
Correct.
are everything is the same. That, okay, so I understood what you said. So I guess we never took a vote against this shelter. We never voted no against it. We never voted one way or another on it. We only voted on process. So is there something in the resolution that we passed on process that we should be taking care of right now as we're going into a new, what do you call it, new phase, right? The provider is out. So we passed a resolution. And is there something in that resolution that we should, as a board, be forwarding? Number one, and I guess, I don't know, there is no number two, except until we get who the provider is, who I personally think it's important that we know, but we never took a vote on a shelter, yes or no. So that's,
I don't have
not
that
sure what I'm saying. There you go.
Let me get that resolution.
Oh, you don't know?
No, because
you don't have to do it now. You
I
don't
am.
have to do it now.
I
You
am.
don't.
I
Okay.
am, if you don't mind.
No, of course,
Yeah,
but you don't have to
the
do it now.
resolution
Mhm.
was opposed to the process and
Process.
asked the city not to move forward and do anything
Mhm.
until it had a different process, which it doesn't have.
That's my point. That's my point. Is there something in that resolution that the board already passed that we should be acting on or moving on? That's, we work on resolutions, so that, is there some, okay, I have to stop. You understand what I'm saying, Laura? You do.
Yeah, I mean, I have testimony, I have the resolution. The resolution said until such time as all the concerns cited, it was 2 pages, are addressed by DHS in manner satisfactory to the board or in a written report by the City Planning Commission, and an explicit finding is made by it following public hearing and due diligence that the DHS proposal is shown to be consistent with sound planning and community
Exactly.
goals, and that there has been adequate opportunity for prior community and community board review and input. Further action to it in any way implement the same should be deferred. That came at the end. So we did not approve this project.
No, we didn't approve the process. That's what we want.
But
the
we didn't
process to be
approve, yeah,
correct.
well, I actually wanted to add 3 words that would have been more explicit, but you argued with me at that meeting. But
I
not-
didn't argue with you at all on that meeting.
Okay. I think that after hearing hundreds of people at the land use meeting and at the health hospital social service meeting, we understood what the public wanted. And we had a Mox hearing, which I believe there needs to be a new mayor's contract service. It needs to go back to the beginning. We need to have a new hearing. I don't know what will shake out. I know the electeds are looking into that. But I will keep you informed. I did send the board when the buildings were sold from the private owner to the
Mhm.
LLCs. We did
Mhm.
participate in a summer testimony, a public testimony, where we talked about the process that this has not gone to the controller, and yet all this is going on between the LLCs, which we have no control over, and a private owner we have no control over. And we know that it's going to end up as a homeless shelter, but the contract hasn't been registered. It hasn't been, looked at. And so we sent letters to the Department of Investigation on that. This was all reported. I know I sent those things out. I sent the letter that went out from the Dinowitzes and the board on this. We had the public hearing. I testified, Chuck testified,
Mhm.
and that's it. I will continue to keep you informed.
Okay, I would
And I
like
see
to
Chuck's hands
clarify.
up.
No, Laura, I never, ever said anything about the resolution that was passed by this board, okay? Just misinformation is very important. I never said anything about the resolution that was passed by this board. I supported the resolution dealing with process, okay? I never, ever, okay? We got that clear? Good.
Thank you, Rosemary.
And
I see.
I am only asking the question. It's a simple question. It's a simple question. We are now faced with a new project director, or whatever you call it, a project, whoever's going to run the project.
Provider.
Okay. The program is the same. The person who's going to run it is different. I sincerely believe it's important that we know who that person is or that entity is, because a lot of information and a lot of input from the community is important on that. I'm only
Absolutely.
asking.
Rosemary, everybody is on the same page. Everybody is concerned, happy that AAPCI is gone, not happy with the process, not happy with what's going on, not happy with the fact they think they don't need to jumpstart or begin anew the contract process, that they could just substitute one group for another. There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions.
And again, my question is, this board passed a resolution. Is there something in that resolution we should be acting on now? Because the board already passed.
Yes, we want it to be part of the process. That's what it said. I'm answering it. And Chuck's, Rosemary, Chuck's hand is up. It was his resolution. I'm gonna give him the floor, if that's okay. All right, Chuck?
Let me suggest to you that it would be wise to say nothing else. First of all, you do not want to be characterized as being against homeless shelters, period. You don't even, the answer would be, you don't even know who's doing it. You don't know whether it'll change. You're premature. Leave it as is for the moment. Tomorrow, there's a meeting with the electeds to see where they're going, including Gustavo Rivera, to see where they're going and how they can be helpful in that regard.
Wait, it's next week. It's not tomorrow.
I had it down for tomorrow. It's next week? Okay.
That's right. We'll
Okay.
confirm. Yeah.
Number two,
Gustavo's out of the country.
they are actually now looking at anybody they can find in Yonkers, in the belief that Susan Stewart, Senator Stewart Cousins, who's the majority leader, is not happy with what's going on here. And they're trying to see if they can arrange to get her on their side by finding somebody from her home district. You need to stay loose on this. Watch it, but stay loose. You do not want to be characterized as having done anything at this stage other than process. That gives you the flexibility to say, these guys should do the following. These guys should oppose the following. Personally, I'm sure that 99 out of 100 people are going to say, the hell with it, this thing's in the bag. Look, I will make a prediction here and now, and I know I'm going to be right. A lawyer from Brooklyn will come forward with a person who is qualified, and that person will be found qualified. I may even be able to tell you the lawyer's name. So the point I'm trying to make is stay loose.
I will continue to keep everyone informed. Thank you, Chuck. My last item on my chair's report has to do with the framework that we use to deal with the various issues involved with the Tishman, Spire, and School Construction Authority developments at 160 Van Cortlandt Park South. There are at least 5 committees involved in addressing issues arising from the proposed housing development and the school at the former visitation site. Clearly, the land use and education committees are the lead committees involved, and both are working to gather information, present information, and expressing the board's and the community's concerns to both entities. However, we know that other committees are also involved and have roles to play. T&T, housing, E&S, potentially public safety. Over the past few weeks, I've had conversations with each of those committee chairs. And I propose using the executive committee as a basic framework for working through the issues. And I received positive feedback regarding using the executive committee to address issues with both those developments. I, along with the officers, feel strongly that the executive committee is a sound framework for 2 reasons. 1, all our resources, namely our committee chairs, the officers, the district manager, are already here. So we can share information, planning next steps are easily facilitated in this one committee. 2, both projects will be active for several years. We anticipate that there will be issues which will evolve over a number of years. A critical role will be working with School Construction Authority and Tishman to communicate and coordinate with each other, their timelines, so that the community surrounding it is not crippled. I mean, that means looking at infrastructure, staging, construction, et cetera, things that our committees, particularly land use, are very well equipped to handle, but that also involve other committees. As is usual, the board is equipped to receive feedback and complaints always from the community, and it's the role of the office and the committees to liaison with the developers and the city agencies in order to field these complaints. That's what happens. And I believe that we can mitigate the impacts of both projects on the surrounding community. It will be a challenge, but we could do it. So for these reasons, the offices support the executive committee fulfilling the role like a de facto special committee regarding 160 Van Cortlandt Park South. Are there any comments? Okay, Chuck, and then Rosemary. Go ahead.
Let me give you an updated report, if I may.
Sure.
As of this afternoon, I guess it was, I got a return call from Tishman concerning where we are. I've told them, because somebody sitting at this table succeeded in being her usual persuasive self and said, we need to have a meeting where the community can attend and be heard. So in that regard, I've said to them, I need you here in the month of January. The response was when? I said, you pick a date, pick a couple, and we'll find a place for it. We're going to need to talk. There is apparently no coordination at all between the Tishman operation and the School Construction Authority. They were surprised to learn last week that there was a lawsuit even going on, because they apparently are not a party to it, or if they are, their chairman doesn't know. Bottom line of all this is the following. Jeff Dinowitz, with the support of Eric and I, are trying very hard to get a couple of points negotiated out. That doesn't mean that's the end of the negotiation. There are a couple of points that are important. One of them is receiving very favorable reaction, which is combining a number of the single room, small apartments with larger ones or with one another, so as to create more family quarters within the building. The argument as to why they have been doing the opposite, namely having all of these single families or one room apartments, is that HPD counts the number of units, not the square footage, not the number of rooms, anything else. And that's an important factor to determining the assistance they will get. I volunteered for myself individually that I would help them with Adolfo Carrion, who I am able to work with nowadays, believe it or not, and who I've found thoroughly cooperative, and see if we can get past that problem. That would be a very important thing because it would change the character of the buildings. The second one is, it's too damn big. Its configuration in and of itself makes it oppressive. As I've characterized it, it's the Pentagon. And that's what it looks like for an area like that. And I have been pressing to have them at least remove one of the three sides. See how we can work out they're not losing by doing that. That they have got to report to the highest authorities within District 5 to see what can be done, and there's a lot more to go. But so far, it's been a quiet, amicable kind of a negotiation, which I am loath to upset because it's very easy for them to say go to hell because it's as of right. And we can make all the Sturm and Drang we want, but not achieve a result. This is one of those instances where perhaps, no promises, perhaps we can get some progress going here. The tone of the discussion has been perfect. Couldn't ask for more. So we'll see whether that goes anywhere, but that's where we are. As for the School Construction Authority, I just don't understand this. As I understand it from Dan Paternak, it is a pro bono, pro se lawsuit by one or more individuals in the area against the School Construction Authority, saying they're bad people. My guess is, if just from the description I've given, to the extent it's accurate, that ain't going to have enough legs to defeat it in court. But at any event, it has enabled SCA to hide behind the pendency of the lawsuit and cancel the meeting that Sylvia was able to put together with them. And so they have walked out on that meeting. I don't believe that they have any real substantive concern about the meeting. I sincerely believe they just don't want to meet. They don't want to let go. And I really think, since the chairman of the budget committee is here, that people ought to start thinking not just of where we need to increase the budget going, but where we need to decrease it. For example, agencies that don't do anything with or for the communities and tell them to go to hell. Agencies that issue permits and then have a discussion with the board about it. Those agencies qualify, in my view, for a very significant budget cut, not an increase. And the money should go to useful, worthwhile entities. But that's issues for the future. The moment, School Construction Authority probably got 90 days before they have to say another word. while this litigation goes on. So that's where we are.
Thank you, Chuck. Rosemary.
There's somebody to be, I was going to address what you said, but now I have to address what Chuck said also. If you will give me just a minute. I have to address first what you said, Laura, about, and if I'm wrong in saying this, please correct me. You are saying to take this issue, the issue of the development, I think you said Tishman, I don't know if you said Tishman and the School Construction Authority, but taking the issue of one side or both sides, taking that issue and having it come to the executive committee to vet. That's what I heard you say. Okay. And I have to start with that first. And I have to think before I speak because
So useful act.
now I have to think before I speak. Okay, take a deep breath. The community board and its bylaws are set up as committees and the potential for special committees. That is the way the bylaws work. And the committees are functioned with, and you can read about, you know, if you know the bylaws, read the bylaws, okay. And you know the potential for special committees are there. Those things are there. The executive committee does not exist to be a working committee. It is not a working committee. It does not take testimony. It doesn't have the ability to take testimony. It doesn't have the ability to take it and function through it. That is not what the executive committee is there to be. So I would, I respectfully disagree with your approach to take this issue and eventually put the issues, decisions into the executive committee. That is not what an executive committee should take what the committees and special committees come up with. They come to the executive before, as a stopping off before they go to the full board. That's it, not as a working committee. And if I understood you correctly, to take the executive committee as a decision maker in the first order is a mistake. Okay, that's my first statement. Now we go to, now I gotta go to you, Chuck. Okay, so the Tishman stuff, it is long overdue that they come before this community and say what they're doing. This is the thing. I sit here like Alice in Wonderland. We were there at the first meeting. The guy, what I forget his name, whatever his name was, he talked about affordable housing and then he talked about his project, right? And there was nothing there. And you remember I said, this is the thinnest presentation we ever had. We have had nothing since that moment in time. And I believe, and I think, I don't want to say you agree. I can't speak for you. I think people understand that we need to have a full presentation in front of the community of this project, as we do with STAG, as we do, if I hear one more time as of right, I'm going to scream. We have STAG in front of us how many times? We have people in front of us all the time. Explain what you're doing, let the community talk about what their concerns are. We have never, ever had these people in front of us in that manner. Okay, those are the two things I have to say. We need them in front of us and this community in a hearing. I've said it from day one. This is not new for me. And number two, Madam Chair, with all due respect, I do not believe that the executive committee is the proper place to work through any issues concerning the development on this site. It's not the job of the executive committee. With that, I will stop. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
I will speak.
May I respond? May I?
I-
respond?
I would like to respond.
May I?
Section one, number 6, bylaws. The executive committee considers such matters it deems advisable and may make recommendations to the board. All the work goes in committees. Resolutions come from committees. Investigation of everything comes at committees. They report to the executive committee. It's called committee member issues for discussion, which is item number 7, month after month. If a committee has had an aspect that pertains to either development, they will report it. They will share that information. If a committee needs help with something, they raise it at exec. That is how I see it. So I don't agree with your assessment of what I said. But however, I thank you for saying it. And Chuck, you wanted to say something.
Let me be very clear. At least as far as Tishman's Chief Executive Officer for Affordable Housing is concerned, and you will, I think, understand and agree, they got a problem. Their numbers on the project were based on the interest rate that was applicable a while back. HPD has changed its numbers because of the new interest rates. HDC has changed its numbers. And of course, the feds have changed the numbers. And so they are trying to renegotiate the basic financials, number one. While they keep moving around with internal plans inside, according to what I heard this afternoon, they are still not at a point where they know exactly where they're going and how they can get there. And until they know what they're going to be able to get by way of relief, they may not be able to go forward with this project at all. So that's where they are. What I've been told by Gary Rodney, who is their Chief Executive Officer for Affordable Housing. Number 2, and who spoke on affordable housing at my request, because he used to be the head for many years of HDC and is a true expert on the subject. Number 2, with respect to the issue of their coming before the board and before the community, you persuaded me as to the merit of that. I told him today that I want to see him in January. I do not want to have craziness going around at this stage, because you'll wind up with a second-hand person, not the person who is the principal decision maker. We've been down this road 1,000 times. They send you number 2 and number 3. Gary would not do that unless we have provocation here. There have been reports of some provocation in the past, and I think many of us have tried to calm that situation down. But for Pete's sake, you have nothing to lose by letting us see if we can work it out amicably. I tell you, the example of Stag that Marty and David Gelman have been able to pull off is the best example I can give you for taking a shot at trying to do it with discussion. If it doesn't work, you can always use the challenging point. But bear in mind, it rarely gets you anywhere. Why? Because this administration is going to support you.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. David, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just want to say, Chuck, while I agree with the matter that you're trying to address, I think you said that we in our budget committee and our budget chair should be addressing the funding for SCA, and we don't have that capability. Our ability, our desire to have our electeds through city council address that, I think are appropriate, and through the state agencies. But I don't think that we can do anything with the SAA budget, correct?
Yes, but you could.
Okay.
you could adopt a suggestion which would lead the chairman of the Assembly Codes Committee and the chairman of the Senate Health Committee to do a number on these folks so they don't repeat it. And as for agencies like DOT, that you can do directly.
Right, but that would be a resolution coming from the board to the electeds, nothing to do with our annual
okay.
budget process.
I would have thought it should emanate from a committee, but if you think not, it would not. It's up to you.
I don't think so, but we can talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, David. My last comment on my chair's report, and it has been lively. I want to update you that last night, the board received an email from Dan requesting a resolution on this topic be placed in the December board agenda. And that we will obviously will have discussion on December 13th on the topic of special committees and the former visitation site. Later on, when we talk about resolutions, we could put that up, but obviously Dan's not here. We won't be discussing it, but I do want to share it. It came to the board last night. That concludes my chair's report. Okay. Next on the agenda is the treasurer's report. I want to welcome Scott.
Hold it. Rosemary's got a hand up on your point.
Rosemary.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I need complete clarification about what you are saying about how you're going to do this issue. I wouldn't, you presented that the executive committee would be, Chuck is talking, what is the conclusion about how this issue will be handled? I'm sorry, please give us direction here. Tell me whether I agree with you or not, doesn't matter. How are you going to deal with this issue? How are you going to deal with it?
I spoke to 6 committee chairs. TNT, ENS, Public Safety, Housing, Land Use, Education. And you asked me.
No, of course, yes, indeed. Yes.
I have spoken to them over the past few weeks, and I have asked them to use their committees, the appropriate committee, to address issues. It goes in committees, and then under our agenda, it gets discussed and shared because we're all here.
Under the executive committee agenda is what you're saying. Yes?
Well, how about committee
Okay.
member issues for discussion, follow up
Okay.
on outstanding issues? They will report. Will each committee person report every month? No, because this thing is going to ebb and flow as we gain information. So I'm sticking to what I already said, that I and the officers are going to be using the executive committee where all the committee chairs are present, where the district manager is present, where the officers are present, to discuss the issues concerning visitation, what came out of the committee, be it land use, TNT. That's how we're going, that's how I believe it is the most, the best way to use our limited time and resources. So I think I've said it and I've been
Okay,
clear.
no,
You may
no,
not
no,
agree.
No, I obviously don't agree, but I want to understand your thought process. The thought process is the end of the road is the executive committee. So people like put different committees put into the executive committee, and the executive committee vets all of that information.
We're not vetting,
order
we're
to come-
taking
in
it
order
in,
to come up with-
responding. We're not vetting. I think I've answered the question as best I can at this juncture. So
Well,
it will be continued to be discussed.
no, to my, I don't understand what you're saying. Just one more time, and I promise I won't ask again. One more time, can you explain to me, 6 committees come to the executive committee and say what? And what is the executive committee going to do with the reports from 6 committees? in order to reach a conclusion on an issue that's important to this community? That's my question. What is the executive committee gonna do when they get 6 separate reports from 6 separate committees? What is the executive committee gonna do in order to forward something that will benefit this community, that will go to the
I
board?
think we're
for-
capable of discussing next steps, but Rosemary, I
Okay.
believe I've answered your question and I'm
Thank
ready to
you.
move on.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, thank you. Scott, I want to welcome you to this august body.
You have another thing from committee.
I'm sorry, Camelia, and then the treasurer's report, which is up there. Camelia, last speaker on this
No,
topic.
yes. Laura, I do apologize, but just to make a point on what I think Rosemary's objection is. First of all, let me say, as chair of ENS, I truly appreciated you reaching out to me. And we did already some homework on this, and we will always report to exec and to full board to land use and to everybody we feel appropriate.
Yeah, your committee
but
has been,
Yes,
has
but
been
let me
positive.
just ask a simple questions because hearing Rosemary and hearing you giving that quote from the bylaws stating that the committees are the working where the working take place, right? Where the work takes place and exec is not. So simple question. I mean, because it does seem like you take away sort of leadership and the driver position from land use. So I'm wondering, like, why isn't this land use issue as all issues are land use when it comes to such developments? And because then, would exec be the forum to put forward the resolution? No, it would be
No.
land use, right? Yeah, it would be land use, correct? So
We
it
don't
would be
put
land
forward-
use to
we
full
make
board.
recommendations.
Exactly. So
I
then,
think I said at the beginning that land use is the lead agency here. I did in my remarks. Clearly.
so okay,
land
just
use
to confirm, land
is the
use
lead.
would make a
And
resolution.
resolutions and
Okay.
ideas and guests and information and research, it's all shared. It all takes place in committee. And then I read the minutes, I see what you're doing. And at exec, things continue to be shared, feedback given, the way we always do. And
Okay.
we advise. But I
So what
really
is-
feel it's almost 8 o'clock and I'd like to move on. I think I made myself clear. This is still everything is still a work in progress. And I would like to move on. Okay, everybody?
Okay.
Scott, please go ahead.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
people,
that's-
please mute yourself if
Yeah,
you are
Julie,
not
it's-
directly speaking.
It's Julie.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the screen is the draft of the December treasurer's report. To begin, we have a notation, section 1. It was reported that Councilmember Sanchez gave us $2,500, but we were told that was an error. I think that's a carryover from the prior month's report. We do have documentation, written documentation confirmation from the council members' office confirming that their staff made a human error and we never got a 2,500 and that was never part of our budget. So that'll probably come out of the finalized report for December. Moving on to personal services, we see it's been updated. So the overall budget remains obviously at 259,208. Personal services have been updated to reflect the salaries that have been paid last month. And other than personal services has also been updated to reflect various object codes. If we go to section 1.1, if you want to scroll down there, Kira. Supplies, equipment, office items, services and fees. Those are some of the object codes that are specified as spent. And then we see what's remaining. No budget modifications this month. Moving on to 1.3, $3,097 in encumbered funds. Those are funds that have been committed to certain object codes but not yet been spent. And in the next table, you see the breakdown. Kira, if you want to just the breakdown of where those funds, what categories they are in. And finally, rent and energy, as you all know, it's not handled by the community board, it's handled by the city, the OMB, and we just include it in the report to make sure that we know what, you know, what the progress is, how it's going. So that's the report.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. And are there any questions? Okay, then moving on.
Rosemary has one. Rosemary. has a question.
Rosemary, okay. You know what happens? I can't
Sure.
see the participants at the same time something's up on the
I
screen.
understand. I said, Scott, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you,
Look
Rosemary. I
at
appreciate
this.
it.
Okay, yes, of
Thank you.
course, of course.
Thank you.
So, as every treasurer knows, you walk into a particular piece of history, and this piece of history, I think, I may be wrong, but this piece of history is trying to accommodate outreach to the community, whether it be, you know, all the technology that will be okay. So my question is on the object codes for the other person, in those, what is the purpose of the supplies and everything, and how many of them are devoted to and singularly designed to help us? What is it? I get David. What is it to make the community board accessible to the outside community? The technology stuff,
You're
the
talking about
cameras,
cameras
the
and-
microphones,
right.
whatever it is. Okay.
That's it. So that I don't have an answer for you tonight with respect to that,
Okay.
but certainly I can speak to Kira about that and see where the plans are. 'Cause I
Okay, I
understand those
take,
concerns, absolutely.
and this is your first meeting. I don't mean to, I didn't
No,
expect you.
that's fair. That's fair.
But in the era that we're in, I think that is like kind of a key thing. Okay, and the only other thing, and I'm not sure it matters, but on the personnel thing that we have lost the services of Tanya, does that change that number one appropriation? Does it, and does it leave us with some money, whatever, does it, you know what I mean, that we lost a staff person in the personal
Well,
services?
you mean, are you
Would
asking?
that
does-
would that change the let me let's see, when somebody leaves, they get a lump sum of time, totally appropriate, but is that reflected in this line? Maybe that's really what I'm asking. So that we lost a person, and the allocation at this point should be less, but maybe it's a little more because of a totally acceptable and additional lump sum that is given to somebody as they leave our service. That, I
believe we-
guess that's what I'm talking about when it comes to.
Scott, may I interject that
mhm.
when Tanya left, she had already used up all of her days, and it was just a total minimal, there was no lump left. She used up all of her vacation, sick, personal time. It's you
Well,
know,
so that's an
is that
answer.
part of your
Thank you.
question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very
Yeah,
much. So-
it's minimal. We could hire somebody immediately.
Okay, so there's no, thank you. Okay, I'm not going to go on further. That actually was my question. Thank you.
And may
Okay.
I just add, yeah, Laura, you are correct. Tanya had no time left. And so she was just paid her last paycheck that this is reflected in this funding. So nothing will change.
And as far as the
And-
technology question, I think some of that will be put in my next report, which is the district manager's report, which I'd like to move on to. Sylvia, I see your hand up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to ask a question. In terms of the rent, I know that that goes through downtown. We have nothing to do with it. However, now that we're in December, what happens to us? Do we have an extension? I mean, we have a lease in effect, and, you know, at this point, we don't have a new location, so what is going to happen? Is the office going to have to do something?
May I answer that? Because I
Sure.
think it's more, not so much the treasurer as just,
Yes, right.
we were
just
on a month to
information.
month because we thought we were moving and
Mhm.
last winter, DCAS notified our landlord that we will be leaving. So we had been on a month to month, but that has
Right.
changed. And DCAS has negotiated with our current landlord
Uh-huh.
on a new lease. And part of doing that, we were getting many we're supposed to get improvements to our office, which they have started doing today, actually. And so Kira might be able to expand on this. It's not really the treasurer's thing, but the status of, at one point, many months ago, we contacted and we said, we don't have a new office and we don't have a lease. What are you gonna do with that at DCAS?
Right.
And they have done whatever needs to be done.
Oh, okay, good.
I hope
Okay,
that
thank
answers the
you.
question. Okay. David?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. A new lease, a new month-to-month lease, or are we taking on 3 years? Or 5 years?
I think it's 5. I'll let Kira answer that. Because I know we're talking with DCAS. We have a lease. We're not going to be homeless like other communities.
Wait a minute, Laura, that's
Hello?
material.
Yeah,
You're
Okay.
saying that we might
Well-
have a 5-year lease?
you know, I just got it yesterday, the papers. I haven't really looked. I'll report back on that, David. We're not going to continue on month to month.
That's
Right.
material, Laura. We should have known that. All right. Yeah,
What do you mean that's material? This is what
my
DCAS does.
Okay, my other comment is if we do go for an extended period of time without the other employee, that has budget implications that we should look at a month or 2 or 3 from now, before the close of our budget, our fiscal year. That's all.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chuck? Chuck, is your hands up from before?
Chuck, he's muted.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, there was a great body of opinion within the board that said it's time to move on from that space. It seems to me whether that body of opinion has changed is something we have to determine before agreeing to anything that says we're going to sign on for 5 more years. It may be that they're willing to sign on for 1 year. They may be willing to sign on for 3. But, and frankly, I don't care. But the body of opinion was it should be located in an area down the hill, not up the hill. And I don't think we can cavalierly just move on and sign a multiple year lease. I really don't.
I agree.
Okay,
This is pretty serious. Month to month, for a year, I have no problem with. That's
well, I don't know, the landlord might have had a problem with it, David. You see, I understand, I get it, and I will report back on this. I will report back on this.
Thank you.
I was not prepared to discuss this right now.
Okay.
There's a lot going on, and it was a situation where our office, this is going to take years. We started in June asking DCAS enter into an offering with that address. June, July, August, September. Now 6 months, we still don't have anything. We're starting all over again. This is going to take a very, very long time. If you don't have a place, we will continue and we'll give you a full briefing on the situation. Rosemary.
Thank you. This has been an issue that has been going on for 6 years. this community has said, this community board has said they want to be away from this office and down in the middle of our district. So the location is clear. That is clear. Okay, get that off the table. The fact that we don't have an office, I'm not even going to go into. Not even going to go into it. What does matter is signing a 5-year lease at this.
No, I
location.
misspoke. I just grabbed, it is a year to year, 1 year.
Okay, okay, it is.
That makes a big
please-
difference.
Okay,
I
please
misspoke.
understand. Okay, please understand what I'm trying to say and then disregard it. That's fine, but please understand what I'm trying to say. It is not acceptable for you to sit there or us to sit there at that location for 5 years. It's not acceptable. Push them. Use every, okay,
Okay,
you know, okay.
Okay.
This is not acceptable. I'm done. Thank you.
it is not acceptable. We will have a 1-year lease. We will not be homeless in the office. We have a 1 year. We're on a year to year. So I misspoke and I'm sorry to cause a whole big Megillah. It's totally frustrating. We have letters that we have written to all the different electeds and governance and city council on the DCAS process. When landlords choose to take another path, private landlords, there's nothing we can do. This process takes years. It is crazy. And we suffer for it. In the meantime, we are demanding, and we had people come from DCAS to look at our office and say A, B, C, D had to be done. And it is being done. Electrical and other work. Today, we had no electricity for a while because they were working. We have worked on improving the office because we know we are stuck there. And if desires, we all have that desire to move to Kingsbridge. Next week, we're going to see a site that they're offering. It's only one site. We're saying, don't you have more? All right, this is going to take years. And I'm sorry, we will be on a year to year and we'll be able to break that. But unfortunately, reality is we cleared up the office, we cleaned out the conference room, we got the electrician in because we know damn well we're going to be there, unfortunately, for a while. Sorry, I'm on a soapbox. Sorry. Julia.
I just, sorry if I'm misunderstanding. I wanted to clarify my understanding of how DCAS works.
Good luck.
Well, not to oversimplify it, but don't you have to just deal with what they give you? It's not exactly like we get an entire, my understanding is we can only see sites that they have pre-approved. Even if we advocate for other sites without their approval, it's an exercise in futility. They do all the negotiations, they make all the agreements, and our acceptance of that or not doesn't really keep them from sleeping at night. Have I misunderstood this situation?
You are correct.
Okay. So whatever lease they gave you, you could say you're not going to sign, but they may not give you another option. They may not negotiate another lease on our behalf, correct?
Okay, we are so far from, well, the thing is they negotiate with the new owners. They do all of that. And from your mouth to God's ears, we should get there at some point on a new office centrally located in Kingsbridge. I think I've spent enough time on this.
No, I have to
I
say one
think
more thing. I'm sorry, I have to reset. Julia Gomez is brilliant in asking the question she asked. And I'm sorry, I need to respond to her because Julia, you are right. We are the victim and hostage of DCAS, without a doubt. Having said that, we are not left with no ability to affect a determination, right? We are not, we have elected officials, we have the community board, we have ways to push and push and push, okay? That is, at the end of the day, it is DCAS that gives us sites, okay? It's DCAS, we push them and say, and actually DCAS will say, give us sites. So we have the ability to give them sites, give them to look at. Okay, so we're not without any ability to deal with the bureaucracy. We are clearly the victim, and we are tied up with the bureaucracy, but we are not left entirely with no ability to deal with this issue. And my only, after all of this time, it is time to push and use every ability we have from every elected official and every community group. We should not have an office that is sitting looking at Yonkers. We should not have a community board office that's looking at Yonkers. Okay, that's it. Okay, get it done, DCAS. So again, we are the victim of them, but we are not without ability to try and work on it. And I'm sure Laura is working on it. So there you
Thank
go.
you.
Okay.
I would like to move on to the district manager's report.
Hi,
Yeah,
everyone.
you're
Good
on.
evening. And I just want to add my 2 cents for whatever it's worth on this topic. I have been working on getting a new space for us alongside Rosemary when she was chair, now alongside
Right.
Laura. No one is more frustrated and wants to get out of that office than me. I have refused to let this lease move forward, and I have contacted the city as of Monday because DCAS came in and did a site visit, and there's all of these health and safety issues in our office, as you can imagine. And I just reached out to DCAS the other day and told them, you're getting ready to sign this lease. The landlord has not done diddly squat in this office. So the landlord has been there the past 2 days trying to get everything done because obviously they want our lease. And just to go off of what Rosemary and Julia and Laura have been saying, we are hostage to DCAS. We have proposed locations to them that unfortunately won't work out. But we're doing our own research of finding commercial real estate that's available in the district. And one other issue that we've seen over the past 2 years, 3 years, 4 years is the turnover at DCAS is unbelievable. The turnover in all city agencies right now is very high, but in DCAS, I have probably worked with 4 or 5 different project managers who have all retired, who have gone to the private sector. So it's unfortunately starting over and over and over again. And so I share everyone's frustration. I'm also just concerned about the health and safety of me, my staff, whoever comes into that office. Again, we'll continue to follow up and push on this, but I just looked through my notes. It is a 1-year lease. It hasn't been signed yet because there's a lot of work that still needs to be done in our office. We don't have ventilation. We got that confirmed today. There's no fire safety. There's no emergency lighting. There's a lot of different issues that they need to work on before anyone signs anything. Moving on, just regarding the hiring process, we have received almost 60 applications through the city career site. We've been going through them. We're going to be starting the interview process shortly. The position will be listed for another 2 weeks. It's been listed in City and State, and it will be listed in the Riverdale Press. It should have been listed in the Riverdale Press already. I don't know why they haven't run it. I have to check on that. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath already. I'm all congested. Regarding the website, I just want to briefly share my screen and show you guys our new website is live. We spent a lot of time on this and I've gotten feedback from some of you, so thank you. I want to just also show you guys All of our videos and our meetings are uploaded on YouTube. So those are available for people to see whenever they want, which is a really cool feature. Not many community boards do this, so I'm really proud to have worked with Pablo on getting all these videos up. There's closed captioning, so it's really cool and accessible for people. Another thing I want to show you guys on our website. Oh, I might have exited out. I did. Okay, so I'll just explain it. Is our calendar page. You can click on a meeting and click on the agenda and on the link from the calendar page, all there, which I think is really cool. If you're running late to a meeting and you just want to jump on, you can't find the agenda, just go to our website and you can click on it from our calendar page. While Tanya has not been there, the Borough President's Office has gracefully been helping us pay our bills. Tanya was the inputter on FMS. The Borough President's Office has taken over that task for the time being, which is instrumental in getting everything paid on time. Regarding the conference room, as you know, we've done a lot of work to kind of make that work, and I understand there's been feedback to make it louder. I've worked with our electrician to do this. I believe it should be working now better. We tested it out. It sounds better, but we also have speakers for backup if we need them. So once this hybrid model is this Zoom full allowance is no longer allowed and we go back to hybrid, we'll be able to do that. We've reconfigured the chairs to position the committee chair in a better place to be more accessible. I'm working with our electrician on a doorbell intercom system because during that flood, the buzzer in the conference room and by Pablo's desk broke. But just due to safety and safety and security concerns, a buzzer really doesn't cut it because you can be in that room and you don't know who you're buzzing in. So I'm working with our electrician, who's a city vendor, on just coming up with different options, and I'll discuss with the officers and come to the executive committee for feedback on that. So I think that's promising. In the meantime, we are installing a temporary doorbell that will work for the time being. And then lastly, unfortunately, I had a death in the family, and during this meeting, I found out a dear friend passed away tonight. So I won't be at the board meeting on Tuesday, and I will probably be out another day next week for another funeral. So I just wanted to report on that. Pablo will have the full board covered. Thank you.
Right, I'm sorry, I understand the wake is Tuesday night.
Yes,
The grandpa.
thank you.
Okay, our condolences, Kira.
Thank you.
Okay, Kira, anything else?
That concludes my report. I do see some hands up.
Okay, who's that? David and Rosemary.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, Kira, you and I spoke about this in terms of the speakers in the conference room. I think we talked about it. I think that you were getting a more advanced speaker phone for the table to help with that clarity issue.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a different vendor. That's our
Okay.
phone vendor. But yes, that's also in the works.
Okay, good, because
Thank
that
you. I
was
forgot to
that was one
report
of the things we discussed at last month's exec meeting. The other you were going to talk about was the progress you've been able to make on the Wi-Fi hotspot via cell phone.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have progress to report. I have been badgering DoIT since early spring, as you all know, on getting a hotspot for Community Board 8, another agency with incredible turnover. In September, I was introduced to somebody who did that month-to-month hotspot sort of plans for the city. I have reached out to him, I've emailed him, I've called him, I have not heard from him. I don't even know if he's still working here. David, I think you and I spoke Thursday or Friday.
Yes.
I've called him and emailed him twice since then and haven't heard a thing.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I don't have anything to report on that, but it's not for lack of trying.
Understood. I appreciate your efforts. We have had discussions, and I know you've been working on this. Thank you.
Thanks.
Rosemary.
Hi, Kira. I'm sorry to hear, I'm sorry to hear about, what you're going through. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
I'm sorry. But in your presentation, you talked about YouTube. We can get committee hearings on YouTube. As a person who is from the last century, okay, so if you're saying that every single committee meeting Zoom recording is on YouTube and can be accessible to people in the community to do that. Is that what I heard? Or am I
Yes,
wrong?
correct.
Okay,
So-
okay. So I get, then maybe because this is the news to me at the executive committee, obviously that would be good to let the entire board know, but wouldn't be, maybe you guys are doing it already, to do a press release to the Riverdale Press or whatever, so that everybody knows that they can do this, that this is accessible to the world. Is it not? If you just click on YouTube, you can get it. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, thank you for that idea. I never
Okay.
actually considered a.
This is glorious, but tell the world, tell
Yeah,
the
so, yes,
community.
and this
I'm
is
not
the
so
first time
sure.
I'm
I'm not
recording.
so sure that some of these conversations merit or would win any awards other than the movie prize. So
Doesn't matter.
be
Yeah,
careful.
Guess
what
what?
you
All the more reason they should be public. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. This is great. It's something we're really proud of. We've been working on it for a few months and I haven't announced it until now because they weren't all
fabulous.
uploaded. It takes a really long time to upload these videos. But yes, this is it's great. We're getting less and less requests for Zoom links because people know they can look at our YouTube page. So it also helps the office. But yeah, we are working on getting the word out there. I wanted to report to the executive committee first. Yeah, I mean, typically a day or two after a meeting takes place, it will have been uploaded.
And it stays forever.
Are any other community boards doing this? Are we like great as the first or any of you new
We
ones
are
doing
not
it?
the first.
Okay.
This came from a civic engagement week workshop that I was on. And actually I had spoke at length with Jody Cologne about this. And I said, you know what, why can't we do this? So we gave it a go and here we are. So
Bravo. I think this is bravo.
I
Right.
know that it took a very long time to upload many
Bravo.
things for this YouTube channel. And I know that most boards do not have a YouTube channel. And it took a lot of work and effort and, we'll get that
Bravo.
word out. So, yeah.
I would not announce it publicly before Tuesday. Just give it a couple more days to bake in to make sure that it's working the way you want it to.
Oh, yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. And we have definitely, we've been doing this since probably February. So it's definitely working the way we want it to. It is, but thank you, David. That's a good point.
Fabulous, Kira. Fabulous. Get Laura and Kira, fabulous.
Good,
Thank
good. Okay, so if we can move on to committee resolutions, Kira will put them up on the screen. Let me see
Yes.
my packet here.
Let's see what we have.
Look at the screen.
Okay, public safety.
Public safety is here and we're all gonna be rock stars now on YouTube. So excited. Okay, so I just gonna explain to the executive committee how I want to present these resolutions. We have 9 resolutions. So a couple of them have a little more nuance than the 7. So I want to present 2 of them separately and 7 that I don't anticipate any controversy or anything to throw a monkey wrench into this. So I'm going to read off the 7 first. They're renewals and new applications, and they were all approved unanimously. So the first one is Mr. Viggs, located at 5670 Marshalloo. Committee approved unanimously, no and for none of these, no complaints by the 50th precinct, no disturbances for any of these. That was a renewal application for a full liquor license. Then also the Moonstar Grill renewal for wine, beer, and cider. Moonstar is at 3519-2525 Johnson Avenue. It's a weird address because it's store A and B. So it's one restaurant. They just have, I guess they combine the stores. So that's a renewal as well. Another renewal for a full liquor license is the Kingsbridge Social Club at 3625 Kingsbridge Avenue. Another renewal for a full liquor license is El Economico Restaurant, which is at 5589 Broadway. And another renewal is full liquor license Bella Notte of Riverdale, located at 3524 Johnson. And the last is a new application for El Tina Restaurant, located at 5782 Marshallou Avenue. And El Tina signed a 2 a.m. agreement. They signed a 2 a.m. agreement and the board did receive that. Okay, so those are the 7 that shouldn't be any controversy or anything.
Ed, if I may?
Sure, David, go ahead.
If I remember, the Moonstar 3519-2525, I think it was discussed that was a typo, 3519-25.
I know it's store A and B, so it's combined. Maybe I'll have to double check that. Okay, so you're saying 3519, 3525. That makes more sense. I'll correct that.
Yeah, I think it's just a typo
I appreciate that.
before we present it Tuesday and goes to the state.
Thank you. Good.
You're welcome.
Good luck. All right, so those are those 7. The next one, the individual one is it's an application for alteration. Do we have that one up next? Nope.
Trying to find it. I'm sorry, Ed. What's the location?
Kaye Bar and Grill at 3638.
Maybe that's last.
There you go. Right there.
Thanks. Sorry.
Okay, so Kaye Bar, they were at our meeting the previous month, and we had received Captain Gervin gave a very pretty bad report on them, that they had a lot of complaints. In the previous month, the board had gotten an email by well, you know what, I'm just going to read it. It's simpler if I read it than try to explain it. So, whereas Maria de la Cruz, representative of Kaye Bar and Grill, located at 3638 Bailey Avenue, appeared before the Public Safety Committee November 15th, 2022 to apply for an alteration to the establishment. Whereas the September 20th Public Safety Committee meeting, 50th Precinct representatives stated they had received multiple 311 complaints for noise, double parking, and other quality of life disturbances at the location of this establishment. Whereas Bronx Community Board 8 has since received a written statement from the representatives of Kaye Bar and Grill detailing measures they have taken to address the areas of concern. Whereas representatives of the 50th Precinct stated they have received no further complaints about the establishment since the September Public Safety Committee meeting. Whereas the Public Safety Committee is satisfied with measures taken by the owners to address previous complaints. Whereas Public Safety Committee unanimously approved this application, therefore be it resolved, Bronx Community Board 8 approves this application. So they did take measures, and our committee was satisfied with the measures they took, and also the 50th stated that there haven't been any complaints since they made the adjustments necessary, which were adjustments needed to address parking issues that they had. So they got access to a couple of parking lots. They've installed a valet parking system to bring the cars to their parking lots, and they've installed double doors and double windows to limit the noise that would be exiting the establishment. So, and they also told us that the alteration, which was the purpose for this application in the first place, would accommodate, I believe it was 130 people as opposed to the previous 75. So we were satisfied with them, and that's going to be that. I'm going to go to the last one, which is, oh, I see a hand up, Rosemary.
Okay, I'm so sorry, just the work that you guys do on this committee, dealing with these issues with the community is so important. It's so important. I'm just a suggestion. I wasn't part of any discussion, so I have no business even saying this, but let me say it anyway. When it comes to, I'm sorry, can you go back to, I'm sorry, Kira, can you go back to the therefore be it resolved kind of thing? That community board aid approves the application. Would it make sense, Ed, to say, community board aid approves this application? I don't want to say subject to, or with the understanding that that the two issues that you raised are consistently addressed, or I may be overstating something, but that's it. You're only approving it because of the accommodation of to do two issues, to take care of two issues. And I just think about if the community really cares about these two issues, that and this is going to go to the to the state liquor authority, right?
Correct.
So you see, we're approving it with the understanding that blah 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 blah. That's it's my only. Maybe the resolution does that, or maybe the therefore be it resolved would do it. It's my only thought, and I should shut up. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, Rosemary.
That's okay. It's remember, this is a message to the state liquor authority. That's kind of like not that we are totally in love. It's they made changes, but we're doing this because we accept the fact that they're going to abide by these. Okay, I have to stop. I'm sorry, Ed.
No, it's fine. I personally, I feel the resolution addresses those issues.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
That's more than fine. Thank you.
Chuck,
Quick question. Are they serving liquor on the sidewalk? Take a look at the beginning of the thing. You want to scroll up just to drop whoever's controlling it? There. No, above.
no,
that.
that's the other one.
Sidewalk on frontage, private sidewalk cafe. Is that where they're serving?
I would assume so. I'm not gonna. It's hard to assume, but that they're building. They're basically extending the restaurant.
I leave it to you guys to make your judgment on it, since
Mhm.
I have a personal aversion to the liquid refreshments. But having said that, have you crossed the bridge in your own mind? And if you have, that's fine with me, that liquor is properly served on the sidewalk?
No, well, see, it's the alteration is. It's not going to be like they're sitting on the sidewalk. They're making an alteration to the establishment. It kind of juts out into that area. It's like a patio with a roof or whatever, whatever you want to call it. That's a bad.
Is it enclosed?
Exactly, it's enclosed.
Okay.
Okay. On to the last one, and this one's even more complicated, or maybe it's not. All right, so
Which one is this? Which one? What
this
are you
is
doing now?
Tijuana Nights.
Okay.
Okay. Again, I'm just going to read this because to explain this would, we went through so much with this for a while, quite some time. So this was a renewal application and a corporate change. So they were renewing their liquor license and they were proposing a corporate change, and the corporate change was to remove the current owner from the application, but they gave no indication of who the new owner would be. The representative who signed it is their lawyer or whatever she is. She's their representative. And as far as I know, our committee has not heard anything that she is the owner. So there you go. So whereas a representative of Tijuana Nights located at 216 West 242nd Street failed to appear before the Public Safety Committee on November 15th, 2022 to renew this establishment's liquor license and apply for a corporate change. Whereas representatives of NYPD's 50th precinct stated that over the years, they've received many complaints about noise, parking violations, and various other disturbances at this establishment, and frequent complaints continue to this day. Whereas Assemblyman Dinowitz's office notified Bronx Community Board 8 of various constituent complaints and provided a lengthy list of 311 complaints against this establishment in 2022. Whereas Assemblyman Dinowitz's office sent an inquiry to the Department of Health about this establishment and several violations were found. Whereas a resident of 216 West 242nd Street stated Tijuana Nights caused frequent disturbances and cited public drunkenness and drug use outside the club, harassment of building residents by the club's patrons, and loud music that disturbed sleeping residents until 4 a.m. He also stated he was concerned for the welfare of his wife and child because he suffered a broken jaw. I got lost now. He suffered a broken jaw due to being assaulted by employees of the club. No, that's not a typo. Whereas 216 West 242nd Street was previously occupied by an establishment called Barcelona Bites, which had the same owner and representative as Tijuana Nights and had a corporate change disapproved by the State Liquor Authority in 2019 for failing to provide required information about principles of the transaction. Whereas the Public Safety Committee has seen no attempt by this establishment to accommodate area residents and address the well-documented history of complaints against them. Whereas the Public Safety Committee unanimously disapproved this application, therefore be it resolved, Bronx Community Board 8 disapproves this application.
Second.
There you go. And I mean, it's a pretty thorough resolution, but we don't generally disapprove. We had a long history with this, and it's the one thing I will say that I said at the meeting is I'm probably not exaggerating when I say our committee has received more complaints about this one business than all the other businesses combined in the area. So that's that. And David has a hand up, and Rosemary.
Yeah, quickly, as I recall, because I was on that call, Community Affairs Officer Sala was not aware of this assault. He was going to check into it. I think we should find out what the outcome was of it, because if it was verified, that should be in this as well.
Yeah, I'll good point. I'll follow up. I mean, regardless, the guy who claims to have suffered the broken jaw came to the meeting. So
I understand, but
if more ammunition. I got it.
Thank you,
Rosemary.
Ed, we're dealing with a decade, easily a decade of abusive behavior in the community from whoever is running whatever establishment there. We've been dealing with it for a long time. I will not, actually, I think I told you, when I was chair, Margaret Donato was chair of the committee. We went to every single building and went to every single floor because we were going to hold a hearing on this because they were so angry, but we needed them to come to a hearing and say this. This is a long-standing community issue, and it's about time it gets ended. So your resolution is totally perfect. The only thing I ask is, what are we as a community board going to do in addition to that? What else can we do to stop this? Because this is a generational issue. This is not now. This is generational, whether it be elected officials or talking to the state officials or whatever. But this has gone on for so long, Ed. I think you know this. I think you know how long this has gone on.
Yep, I'll just say one thing. You know, I really put a lot of work into this because I had the same attitude as you, that it's got to stop now, because,
Yep.
you know, if you're too passive about these things, abusers just continue to abuse. So I'm not prepared to answer that question of what are we going to do in the future. I'll have to brainstorm that a bit, but I'll certainly welcome any suggestions. And, you know, SLA will have to be involved in that. And it's tricky business because they're playing a shell game right now. I don't know 10 years ago, but I know since I've been on that committee, well, that's all I'll say. And I'm not going to say anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Are there any other resolutions, or is
Public safety, that's it.
that's it? All right. Thank you, Ed. Thank you all for the hard work on your committee. Next, resolution.
I'm pulling up TNT. Just give me one moment.
Yes.
I think I accidentally exited out.
Kelly had to leave. She told me, David, you're going to present?
Yeah. Such that it is.
I got a text. Okay.
DOT came to us about this, what they're calling permanent car share program, which would be a zip-like thing where the cars would be available and parked on the streets. They would be given their own parking spaces that would be allotted for a ridiculously small sum per annum. But at any rate, we had raised several concerns during the meeting based on the testimony given to us by the vendors and by the DOT. So the first whereas is about that they presented it to us, that the DOT said that they would give us 30 days for comments. And then we asked for 90 days and that they would get back to the community board on whether they will permit comments beyond the 30-day period. We believe that's an interesting but complicated proposal. And so we are asking that we be able to give additional testimony. Therefore, be it resolved that CB8 rejects the permanent car share program locations in Community Board 8 based upon a failure of DOT to give CB8 adequate time to review the proposal, especially given the fact that the presentation was not given the community board to review the details prior to the November 17th TNT meeting. And it was, except for Deb Travis, who was ineligible to vote, it was unanimously passed. And that's what will be presented on Tuesday. Any questions? Rosemary?
So did DOT get back to you to give us more time?
I can respond to that, David, if you let me.
Please.
Sure. They did not. And we did write.
No, they did not respond, or they said, no, we're not giving you more time. Which did they do?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
They did not respond.
Yeah.
I wrote a letter
Okay.
on behalf of myself and Kelly,
fine.
asking them to respond and reminding them why we wanted this.
Okay.
And they did not, asking for a response. The letter was CC'd to Adonis Rodriguez and a whole bunch of other people. And we did not get a response from DOT to that letter. So no, they have not
Okay.
given
So
us,
there's
they have not said
the
anything.
The
They had-
request went out and they didn't respond. They didn't say, yes, we'll give you more time. or,
There was
we
no
won't give you
response
more
yet.
time." There was no response. So, Okay, so this resolution is gonna come to the board. Is there anything else we should be doing, given what DOT's response to us was? I mean, look at the resolution. The resolution was perfect at the moment in time that it was crafted and passed, right? We're saying we reject the program upon the failure of them not coming to us. Okay. Now they're saying they're not coming to us. Do we okay. To me, it's painfully obvious there needs to be another resolution, but anyway, I'll stop. Thank you.
Chuck?
Let me make it even more obvious. As the Riverdale Press points out quite correctly, they issued the permits before they even came to us. That's why I made the comment earlier about David and the budget. They had already approved it. This was show and tell. That's all it was. And would we add anything to it? Only stronger condemnation, pointing out the fact that the DOT only came to us after it already done the deal. Of $40 a month, they get 2 parking spaces for a year. $40 a month, $475 a year, and they get the benefit of the street cleaning. They get the benefit of everything else. Our streets are very cheap for the people who are properly represented and who make proper contributions. This one smells.
Yes, it does. My only point is this resolution, given the non-response from DOT, my only question is, does this resolution demand another resolution? Does this that's really my question. This committee at their moment, they did exactly the right thing for the committee. Okay, now we know what DOT did or failed to do vis-a-vis us. Now we come to the full board. Do we not, Madam Chair, have another aspect to DOT?
I can't speak for the committee chair. I will speak with.
Well, speak for yourself.
I will speak, yes, because this one is strictly on process. It's not on the substance of the program or the objections that we raised. But I will speak with Kelly tomorrow.
Deb, you have
I
your
agree.
hand raised?
Yeah.
I just wanted to, thank you for calling on me. I just wanted to say that I just take issue. I am an employee of Zipcar, which is why I abstained and was ineligible to vote on this resolution. I don't think it's appropriate to cast aspersions on the companies that are participating in this car share program as though there's something under the table untoward that they're doing. The city during the committee, DOT stated that there were limits to how much they could charge for these curb spaces, and that's how they set their prices. So I just wanted to say, I just don't think it's appropriate to attack the vendors who are participating in the program because of the limits of what DOT is doing. I mean, and I agree that there should be more notice.
Yeah, point taken. And I understand it's a state law. And I've spoken to Jeffrey Dinowitz about the supposed ceiling on how much the city can charge when it gives away its streets. And he's going to work on that.
I will note, Debbie, you're right. We shouldn't be casting aspersions, but it was discussed during the meeting that we were in serious question about the claims that were made by the vendors that they try to reach out to the garages to get indoor spaces. What wasn't answered, and we asked for them to get us better information on, is what did they offer to the garages? Were the garages saying, we don't want any transients? Or were they saying, no, we're not going to give you a space for $20 a month? So that's an important thing that DOT was going to get back to us on. But I just wanted that clarification.
And David, you're right. Questions were asked of the proponents. Explain to us your all the numbers that you give us, okay? Has anybody gotten any information that was requested at that meeting? Okay, I understand.
Not that I know
what you're saying, Judith. Exactly. So whatever. My only point, Madam Chair, is the resolution passed by the TNT committee was passed in an environment of.
I
all that
understand
they
about
do,
the
all that
process.
they do. Okay,
Okay.
there you
All
go.
right.
We're moving
All right,
beyond
next.
that. As I said, I will speak to Kelly tomorrow. It's the TNT resolution. I will certainly advise her that it needs to be updated. Be more substantive, not about the process. It was perfect at that moment. And
At that moment, exactly.
it was perfect. And
Okay.
now it's on I'm sorry she had to leave the call. She told me she had to leave by 8:30 and she did, but
All right, so Camelia, you had your hand up?
Camelia and then Chuck.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Deb. I kind of want to stress David's point as far as, honestly, the income that the city could have made out of this, but is not making. But also I want to take a different point of view, which is what I said in committee 2, where I observed that there was a lot of new housing built in CB8 compared to other community boards. A lot of new buildings going up, and each and every single one has a deficit of parking, right? Not to mention the forthcoming Van Cortlandt Park South. Let's not go in there again. I mean, they build 100 apartments. There are 40 parking spots. So all these extra cars to go somewhere. If there is a program that allows 15 people to agree to use one car, I protect the neighborhood by allowing those 15 people to use one car, not by telling those 15 people, buy your own car and have 15 spots on the street. So just to share from can I please finish, David?
No,
if you
well,
don't
no,
mind?
because hang on a second. We are not recasting the TNT debate. Okay, your points are valid, but we discussed them in the TNT, and we're
Do you
not in
mind?
the position to dictate the rules of the building code about the number of parking spaces allotted.
David, you
This
are
is something that
interrupting me, and I have the floor right now, if you do not mind.
yes, I do. This was debated.
David.
No, but
and
you
can
are
be-
interrupting me.
Madam
I'm not
Chair,
interrupting
Madam
you.
Chair,
Wait.
We
from
can
the
bring it up
city-
next week. during the board meeting.
Wait, David, everybody. Camelia, everybody, wait. This is a TNT resolution. We all agree with that. Well, I'm not saying we all agree or don't disagree. I would like to discuss this with the chair of the committee tomorrow. And it's up to the TNT, chair to amend this and what she wants to present and maybe send it around. But I don't see any other reason. It's almost 9 o'clock we have said what we've had to say.
Agreed.
Okay,
So
Laura,
I would-
but
I-
just
I-
as a matter of process, if you don't mind, a person have the floor, you are the chair of the meeting, cut that
I
person,
am
do
chair-
not allow another person
No,
I
it's
am
okay.
chairing the
It's
You are
discussion.
chairing this
Can you
meeting.
finish up your point? That's all I'm asking. Let's finish up the point. Finish up your point.
Yes,
You
my
certainly are
point,
allowed. Yeah.
yes, thank you so much. Civility conversation, right? Okay, thank you.
Amelia, I am
No,
chairing this.
David, let Camelia finish her point.
One sentence,
Yeah.
David. I have
Please.
the floor. I'm not holding speeches. Thank you. So I'm just putting it out there for everyone to think. It's a matter of usage of the public space, which is the better option. 15 people agreeing to use one spot or 15 people buying 15 cars. It's all I'm saying. Thank you.
All right, I think we've heard enough on this. What other resolutions are there? And thank you, everybody. Kira?
The office hasn't received any more resolutions.
Okay.
We
all right,
did have a land use meeting Monday night. Chuck, did you have any resolutions you wanted to report on?
No, they will be framed based on I'll call it testimony, the positions taken by various people on the issues as a draft for the January meeting with material sent to you in advance. And let's see if adopt a resolution at that point or not?
Okay, I could contribute one last thing here. What Dan sent was just an email. It didn't have an attachment. And I didn't see your request until kind of late.
Oh, thank you. Okay, that.
Okay,
makes me
I did
better.
respond, but okay, so let me read this email. Last night, we received an email from Dan Paternak requesting a resolution on this topic be placed on the December board agenda, which it will be. This is it. Board member Dan Paternak presents a resolution for the board's approval to establish a special committee to address the various issues involved in the Tishman Spire development of 343 residential apartments at 160 Van Cortlandt Park South. All right, that's it. Basically, so that's why when it was sent to you, you didn't recognize it as this is it, and that's what will be added to the agenda for discussion on December 13th. Okay, so since Dan's not here, of course, we'll discuss it then, unless, does anyone have any comments?
Madam Chairman, may I just raise a point? So it's on the table for people to think about and not for action at this time. You have a potential conflict within the bylaws. If any board member can request to have a matter placed on the board agenda without going through any committee, why bother going through committees with resolutions? Just one board member does it. That's not for tonight, but I think you need to think that you have a conflict here, or at least the potential for creating a conflict.
Yeah, no, just in terms of special committees, thank you, Chuck. Historically, a special committee is formed by the chair of the board or a chair of a committee, historically. Historically, according to the bylaws, a resolution that establishes them does come from the board, but it provides for composition of the committee, method of selection of the chair, and its members. I mean, there's just certain things that are generally in a request for a special committee. You know, so, but these things will be discussed. But it's going to go on the agenda. So, and I just wanted to throw it out there that this is it. Okay. So, is there any other?
Yes.
We have two more hands up, Rosemary and Marty.
Okay, Rosemary.
So Chuck, I love you to death, but the fact remains, as you know, the bylaws allow special committees to be created. And don't work, you can, okay, but you know they can be created, and there you go. I have no idea whatever resolution is going to be in front of us. I have no idea what it is. To me, it doesn't matter. The bylaws allow a member of the community board to put forward a resolution to create. That's what our bylaws allow. God bless, who is it? Marty, tell me, Mark Friedlander, right? He created the best bylaws of any community board in this city. And that's in the bylaws. So there you go. So that's what with yes or no, whatever is being proposed, that's fine. But there's a right to do it. So there you go. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Marty?
Yeah, I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning, so I'd like to get my report in, if possible.
Well, we're now up to committee member issues for discussion.
Well, that's what I'm hoping I can make my report.
You got it.
All right, first of all, with respect to land use, Chuck, I forgot to mention on Monday that we passed a resolution last month before, allowing STAG to have an extra hour on Saturdays for concrete. DOB not only did not allow them the 1 hour, they cut them out entirely for Saturdays. We don't know why it was cut. Jay seems to believe that some neighbors complained. I have no idea who the neighbors were, what the complaint was, what number it was. I don't believe any of those complaints came to the board office, but I think we would intervene on behalf of Stagg.
You want
Marty, may I?
me to call them? You want me to call them? Let me know if you do. If you and David agree, I'll do it. If you don't, I won't.
I just want to add one thing, Marty, if I may. We sent that resolution last month to DOB, and that's when DOB told us about the other complaints. And I told, I said they haven't come to our office. We voted on it. And he was going to look back into it. But I think that he said there were a few complaints. Chuck, we can talk more about this tomorrow if you'd like.
To be clear, those two guys have done a Herculean job. If it is their view, based on what they've done, it is in the community's best interest that I call the commissioner, I will do it.
Okay,
We just don't know the nature of the complaints.
we don't know the nature of complaints or the volume. Now, with respect to hybrid, a lot of terms been going around and LREs had trouble with the terms. I want to clarify for, I had a whole thing to plan, but I'm going to cut it short. Just know there are 3 types of meetings. Type number 1 is the meetings that are being allowed under the mayor's emergency declaration. And so we can Zoom, and there's no hybrid in Zoom. There's just Zoom. Second type is like the old days before there's COVID, where we meet in person, and we've extended and hope to extend when available a opportunity for people to Zoom and watch, but that's all it is. If a member of the public wishes to speak, they must attend. The third kind of meeting is that as the meeting gets closer to its time, and I'll come back to that, someone requests of either the board chair or a committee chair that they have extraordinary circumstances and they would like to participate via Zoom. If that is agreed to, that's when the meeting becomes a hybrid meeting. If it's a hybrid meeting, according to the law, the public has to have the same access as this person with extraordinary circumstances. Bottom line is, we are not equipped, with the exception of the board office, we are not equipped in any of the locations that allow us to come in to provide for hybrid meeting. It requires us to see the potential to see every participant, public and private, public and board member, and we have to see and hear them if they wish to participate. And we just cannot do that. And if we were to do that, the issues of whether or not a venue that is selected has Wi-Fi capability, has other capabilities in terms of being able to broadcast, or we have to arrange an enormous amount of equipment to bring from place to place. So it's not exactly easy. It strikes me, and this is a personal view, is that when we approved the to go hybrid back in May, we were forced into an early decision because the law said if you don't do it by a certain date, you cannot participate on the initial investment. It could, we have not been able to agree, the LRE has not been able to agree to what the procedures are for a number of reasons. Procedures are, what is an extenuating circumstance? When does someone have to apply a request for extenuating circumstances? How many people are allowed to do it? And how many times can an individual make that request? What kind of notice has to go out to the public telling them it's a hybrid meeting? Remember, it's not a hybrid meeting until a member of the board requests to go for extenuating circumstances. These questions are up there. to go back to the initial thing, we are not out of compliance. There are two paragraphs. There were two separate items, A and B. Item A required us to have a public hearing and vote a resolution, which we did. And that covers everything. It was quite extensive. And both the borough president and the Committee on Open Government have agreed that we have met all the requirements in our resolution. The second paragraph says the board is to come up with a set of procedures as far as COOG is correct, COOG and BP are concerned. There is no need for a vote. It can be done administratively, and when LRE meets again next month, we will come back, hopefully, cross my fingers, come back with a resolution for the executive committee and finally the board to see. I was challenged, my last comment, I was challenged by a member, I was challenged that I committed heresy. Terrible that a chair of a land rules and ethics would deny the opportunity to vote. The fact is, most people, almost all members of the board had never seen the resolution. Why would they vote on something they've never seen? That's question number one. Question number two, there was no need to vote. And question number three is the argument being made that the resolution was temporary. We would discuss it in the future, we'd modify it, whatever. Well, apparently that rule did not carry over to the LRE meeting, and I could not get a majority vote either way. So more to come. I just want you to know those specific details and definitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you. Chuck and Rosemary, your hands are up.
Let me be
Or is
clear.
that from before?
No, that's from now.
Oh.
Very clear about 2 points. First, my issue with that I pointed out, the problem, the conflict between the bylaws and the bylaws, had nothing to do with this immediate resolution. It's a conflict. From now on, anytime I want to have a resolution addressed by the board, I just ask for a special resolution and you have to put it on. I don't have to go to a committee, just go right to the board. If that's what you want, you can say goodbye to the executive committee and you can say goodbye to the committees. There's got to be some refinement here. That was my purpose in raising the issue, not in the specific context of the issue that was before us. It's not something you do tonight. It's something that at some point, law, rule, and ethics, I think is the appropriate place to look at that potential conflict and see where they have to hone the bylaws to deal with it. Or if they believe it's not necessary, then just say so. The second point is, I don't care if you have a special committee. It relieves me of any obligation to use personal capital in this matter. I'll leave it all to the committee because that's what you're doing. You're going to relieve the committees, mine included, of any responsibility. Be my guest. My wife will bless each and every one of you.
Thank you, Chuck. Point made. Rosemary.
Oh, hi, I love disagreeing with Chuck. It's my favorite thing in the world. Chuck, you have been on the board for how many years? Oh my God. The bylaws are there for a reason. And by the way, you are, I'm sorry, can I just say, okay. Okay, the bylaws are there for a reason. And by the way, you are absolutely right. Bring something before the board to change the bylaws. Bring it. And if this board decides it should be something else, go for it. I am for democracy. That is it. That's what you do. But we cannot have leadership on the board that says this is it and there's nothing else, right? It's the bylaws are there to bind us, to direct us. And if we don't like them, change the bylaws. And we know what it takes to, Marty will tell you what it takes to change the bylaws, okay? That is great. Put something forward. This doesn't make sense. I think because of this, we should change the bylaws. Do it, okay? Go for it, go for it. Okay, here's the reason why I actually raised my hand. I don't understand. I sat through, now, people on the executive committee, how many people were at the Law, Rules and Ethics Committee? How many? I mean, maybe Chuck, maybe Camelia, Laura, Marty, I'm trying, who else was at the, oh, Sylvia is on the committee. Oh, David is on the committee. Excuse me, David, I apologize.
And
We're on the
Stephen Frick.
committee. Okay, and I'm sorry. Did somebody else say, did I miss somebody? I
No,
really
I said, and
apologize.
Stephen Fruit,
Okay.
very important.
Oh, but Stephen's not on the, Stephen is not here tonight. He's not here tonight. I listened to, you know, at Lawyers and Ethics, you really, if you're not a participant, you shouldn't be speaking. So I was an observant of everything. And I joined the committee because it was all very interesting and all the things that, this is what I don't understand. Please, somebody explain to me, why can this board not vote on the process issues? I don't understand. I don't understand why anybody's afraid of this board voting on process issues. I honest to God, don't understand. Please don't tell me, somebody told me we don't have to. I don't care if somebody told you you don't have to. Why does this board do not allow this board to vote on the process issues that are going to be part of how we go forward to get out of the pandemic and everything? Why? Okay, I'm okay.
Thank you,
I'm
Rosemary.
repeating myself, and I want, please do not tell me somebody said you don't have to, because
No, I'm
that
just gonna
is-
say thank you, duly noted. Camelia,
Oh, good.
last
Okay,
hand.
good.
Yeah,
Good, thank you. Good, very good.
just to keep it very short, I'm not missing any opportunity to agree with the chair of land use. That's maybe not the only issue. We had 2 New York City charter changes that passed and the bylaws of CB8 were not touched. We are all equal, the law says, but there are people on this call that do not think we are all equal. And a full committee, any committee, can be against something and not want to put a resolution, and a resolution can be put by any member of the board that's not part of that committee in full board, and that resolution could pass. Because, like Rosemary says, democracy. It's not a big boss, a subset of middle management, and then a bunch of workers. It's 50 people or equal, and the supreme decision-making body is the full board. And like Rosemary says, why can't we change processes? We can change processes. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, is there any follow-up on outstanding issues?
No,
Please.
Yes,
Go ahead.
sorry, okay, one thing. So we talked about, let's see, on November 2nd, I think, two executive committees ago, we learned that Tanya was leaving. And then we learned that it's been advertised, and we just learned tonight it's also being advertised, and there are 2 other papers, I wrote it down. So that's good, because it should be advertised more than on a city site. I think you agree, Laura, right? It should, the
That's
city
what's
site.
going on, yes.
Yes, exactly. So my only question is, in the past, there was always a process by which candidates would be vetted and how the process would work. You know, how's the process going to work? How, when you get.
We're
what's the-
vetting the resumes and we will
And-
conduct the officers.
Who's
and we will
we?
conduct
Who's
The
we?
officers.
Officers will do the interviews, okay.
And we're looking at the resumes. I don't get your question. I don't get your point.
The process, how do you get from the resumes to bringing candidates to the board for approval? What's the process between that?
We will be
and-
doing interviews. And then when we narrow down, ultimately, we will bring a candidate to the board.
And we means the officers, as I understand.
Yes,
What you're saying. Okay, so the officers are going to do the vetting, they're going to do the interviewing, and they will make the recommendation that will come to eventually to the board. Is that right?
correct.
Thank you. That's all I was asking. Thank you. Thank you
David,
very much.
next.
Yes, two quick statements. One, frankly, I'm very disappointed in the lack of transparency about this very long-standing, very disconcerting office lease issue. We should have known more. We should have known earlier. Moreover, though.
Well, we just got. we-
Laura,
David, we
please,
just got
Laura,
it.
please.
Don't
Laura,
you dare
please.
yell at me because I'll mute you.
Laura, please.
Finish your
Please,
point, make
I
your
have the
point.
floor.
It's nine, yes, you
Laura,
have
I have the
the floor.
floor. I would have
Go
been
ahead.
done already.
Point of order. Cut it out, guys.
The other point I want to make is it was said that there's almost nothing that we can do. Well, there was almost nothing we could do, but we managed to get AACPI off of the deal. And we also got some progress on the church site for the schools. My point is, those things only happen because we brought pressure to bear with our electeds, and we need to use them to get some movement from DCAS. We've been pussyfooting with DCAS for years. We need to use our electeds to get some movement. Thank you.
Marty, your hand is up.
Yeah, it just seems to be an error, I think, here, and thinking whoever we may hire is an employee of our district manager.
No,
She's the one. Yes. The same
No.
thing we did when we hired Pablo and we hired,
No.
what's her name, Tanya. It was through the screening by the district manager who has an employee that person has to work with. Doesn't have to work with you, has to work with the district manager.
Thank you, Marty. Yes, it's in the bylaws. The district manager manages the office staff. If there are no other hands, is there a motion to adjourn?
I
So
move we
moved.
adjourn. Yeah.
A second?
goodbye.
Second.
Yes, indeed, yes.
I want to
yes.
thank everybody for attending and have a healthy, December. We'll see you next week. And that's it. Good night, everybody. Have a good night.
Right.